Reclaiming yeast from a commercial beer and a bonus beer review today. E aí, gente, por aqui. If you're a returning subscriber, thank you so much for your support. And if this is your first time here, welcome. So today we're going to reclaim the yeast from a commercial beer. So what we're going to need is 1 liter of water, half a cup or 120 grams of dry malt extract, a thermometer, our commercial beer. In this case, we're going to look at Shiner Weizenese, a glass, a pot, and a stir bar magnet and your stir plate. So the first thing we're going to do is pour our 1 liter of water into our pan and bring it to a boil. Now to prepare our beer, what we're going to want to do is sanitize our bottle opener and sanitize around the bottle cap and around our glass. Now, as an alternative, you can do flaming, and I'll show you how to do that in a few minutes. I'm going to go ahead and open this up. Since it's just me, I'm going to go ahead and stop recording until I get it opened. Once opened, I also sanitized my cap, and we're going to just go ahead and pour this. Careful to stay up above the rim because we don't want to touch so that we get any contact transmission of any other microbes. And we want to leave quite a bit in suspension. You see I've poured it all the way to about here. I can pour a little bit more out. Now you will notice that I am using half the amount of malt extract as a traditional starter, and that's because I want to keep this really thin, and I want to keep it very, very well oxygenated so that the yeast has plenty of oxygen to grow. And again, we don't want to take this all the way to boiling. We just want it to start getting warm, and then we're going to add in our malt extract. So I'm going to turn the heat way down so I don't run the risk of a boil over. And then I'm going to add my dark malt extract, my dry malt extract, excuse me. Then I'm going to get my spoon and get this out and stir it around a little bit. And again, we're going to stir this all the way around and go up to boiling. We're going to want to be very, very careful because the hot break on this is going to boil over really, really fast. So I'm going to go ahead and get this all the way mixed in and keep bringing up the temperature. Then we're going to allow it to boil for 15 minutes. And I've hit the hot break and turned it down to about 4 for this particular pot and started my 15-minute timer. Now I did forget to say that you should sanitize the cap and go ahead and put it on so that we don't get any bacteria, viruses, or wild yeast falling into our beer. Paper towel folded in half or a fourth and shake. Now this paper towel is also going to double as our airlock, so it's good to go ahead and make sure that it gets quite moist with sanitizing solution. Not airlock, a block for bacteria, wild yeast, and other things to come through. So this is an acidic solution known as star sand. And we're going to obviously want to have oxygen cycle in and CO2 come out, but we want to go ahead and make sure that it stays moist with star sand so that any air going in is sanitized. And when you get to temperature, you go ahead and sanitize your funnel. And then pour in Give it a good swirl, your beer. Stir that in. Take our stir bar out. Sanitize the stir bar. And get our rubber band. Close that up. And now let's try our beer. It's very fruity. There's a little bit of a floral. All right. Well, the fruits are really bitter, but it is definitely a fruit. There's a little bit of sourness on it. Yeah, it's mostly fruit. There's a little bit of floral on here, but I mean, it's all right. It's a pretty good example of a wheat beer. Not my favorite beer. I can't see myself drinking many more of these, but I know a couple of guys that would really appreciate this. I'm going to give it a 3 out of 4. Then we put it on our stir plate and turn it on. Now we'll be coming back every day to check on it and make sure everything is growing okay. So after 8 hours, there's quite a bit of bubbles, which means that there is gas being created, which means that the yeast is active. It has now been about 30 hours. I turned the stir plate off so that you can see there's a really nice krausen forming on this, so it looks like the yeast is highly active. 48 hours in, and there is a lot of activity still. So I'm going to go ahead and decant some of this to bake a loaf of bread. So here is the starter the next day after I took some out, and you see we have quite a bit of krausen there. Here's day 4. The krausen has fallen back in, and I'm not seeing as much carbon dioxide formed as in the beginning. Now the next step for this starter is to go ahead and create a full strength starter and get it poured in, and I'm going to decant a little bit and make another loaf of bread. The first one didn't rise very well because the yeast hadn't gotten to population yet, but I should be much closer this next time. So if you enjoyed this episode, give me a thumbs up, don't forget to subscribe, and until next time, have a good one.